Welcome to Mortgage Masterminds. I'm Richard Greaser, VP of Marketing at Sales Boomerang, and my guest is Karl Jacobs, CEO at LoanSnap. Karl, thanks for coming.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
So in case you don't know what Sales Boomerang and Mortgage Coach is, you have been living under a rock since 2017. Sales Boomerang notifies the lender the moment one of the borrowers needs a loan, and Mortgage Coach makes the right choice simple, fast, and clear for the borrower. Let's get into this. This guest is really special. I mean, I didn't know a lot about Karl until I spoke with him on the pre-call, and I didn't realize. For everybody listening, Karl met with Zuckerberg at Facebook and was an advisor to Facebook way before they became a big deal. And maybe Karl will share a little bit about that. He is a serial entrepreneur. He has started this company, LoanSnap, which is incredible. And I'm sure all of you are going to want to hear a lot about what they're doing to make the consumer experience just better in mortgage lending, which it definitely needs. So let's kick it off. Karl, why don't you just tell us a little bit about your background? I alluded to a little bit, and then a little bit about what got you into the mortgage industry to start LoanSnap.
Yeah, you bet. So I'm a serial entrepreneur, as you mentioned. Started back as a technologist and then started a couple companies. My first one I actually sold to Microsoft. So I spent a couple years there. And as you pointed out, I was an advisor for Facebook, actually when it was 6 guys in a house in Palo Alto. So way early, to say the least. And, have been building companies, trying to help consumers since I started. And I actually was a serendipitous moment that brought me to mortgage. A friend of mine asked me out to dinner, said, "Hey, I have a mortgage company. Would you come help me and take a look?" And so I said, "Sure." And then the fun began. I really learned about, how processing and underwriting and sales and really how Henry Ford still lived on in the mortgage process that we had before LoanSnap came along, and realized that we could do a lot better both on the back end and then on the front end in helping consumers save money. In fact, we saved our customers $80 million last year, which is really the end goal of all the technology that we've built.
So you told me that you're doing several $billion in originations right now. You bought a mortgage company about 5 years ago. You took about 2 years to retool it. How are things going with the company, especially given the market right now?
Well, they're going great. I mean, for us, at the end of the day, it was been a great partnership with the mortgage company that we purchased. We've had our struggles. Obviously, when you upend the entire process and rebuild it, thinking about the customer first and thinking less about the Henry Ford process and more modern processes that allow tasks to be created and done in real time and in parallel so you can close a loan. Our world record is currently 24 hours that we've closed a loan in. And so when you're doing that, obviously that's painful for a lot of people who've done it the old way. The great thing is a lot of people want to adapt to the new technologies and the new way of doing things because they want the customer to be happier. And so that's worked out really well. That machine that we built, oddly enough, or not oddly enough, because we close loans faster and because we do it more efficiently, means we make more money. We save our customers money and we make more money, which means this kind of environment that we're in right now is perfect for us. It's exactly the kind of environment that we built the company for. And our goal is to build a mortgage company that thrives in the good times and the bad times so that you don't have these big waves of people coming in and out, and you don't have a lot of the backup and delays that you have at other mortgage companies. And in addition, you have a consistent process, whether the company's processing tons of loans or processing fewer loans. I think everybody's processing fewer loans. And that's even more important today when purchases need to be closed quickly. And honestly, when you're doing a refinance or even what we call a smart lock, which is like a HELOC, but better, closing it so you can get that customer money quickly and they can use it for investing or building a new business or starting a new career, which a lot of people are doing today.
Well, okay, let me jump into 2 questions about what you just said. One is, can you just talk to me, what is a smart lock? And the second one, I think anybody listening that hears that you close a mortgage in 24 hours has a big question mark, like, what does that even mean? Because that's not done in the industry. So maybe you could just jump back into those.
Yeah, you bet. So smart locks are effectively our version of a HELOC. HELOCs are home equity lines of credit. They're generally ARMs or adjustable rate mortgages, and generally they make you basically pull down or borrow all the money up front, so they can charge you all the fees. We have a blockchain product that I'm sure we'll talk about, Homecoin, that allows us a little bit more flexibility. So our smart locks are fixed rate loans, so you don't have to worry about rates going up or down. Once you have your rate, you're done. And as well, you can borrow against it and pay it back as you like over time. And so that just makes it a much better product for customers. The other advantage of that, of course, is that they're fast, which helps out a lot of people who have an existing, loan on their house and they need a little bit more extra money. They've got equity in their house, and so they're like, well, I don't want to pay the current rates today on my whole loan, but for a portion of it, I'm happy to pay a little bit more to have the cash to have for other uses. On the 24 hours, it's really kind of an incredible story. We actually didn't even realize we'd closed a loan in 24 hours until about 2 weeks later. And that's because Nell, which is the affectionate name we have for our AI, actually did it all by herself. She actually farmed the tasks out by herself, parallelized them, figured out the fastest path. And she doesn't really know any better. Like, all she knows is she's trying to help the customer out and close as fast as possible. We had no idea she was capable of closing a loan that quickly. But that's what happens when you build these systems the right way and let the machine figure out the right paths and the right process and everything like that to go through, versus locking it up in the Henry Ford model. The Henry Ford model is basically, it goes to step one and then it goes to step two. And if step one isn't finished, it doesn't go to step two. Our model is that all the tasks that are part of closing a loan are something that could be done in parallel if they were handed out to, automation machines and or people, and we let everybody kind of work as a team versus let individuals own particular loans.
Well, I think this is a good segue. Are you a mortgage company or a tech company?
We're for sure a tech company, and that's become more and more prevalent and obvious, I think, in the last 2 months, as we've opened up our platform and allow any loan officer who has a license to use our platform. And we are working on a program where we can train people and get them licensed and allow them to use the platform after they're through that program. So definitely a tech company. We are doing mortgages, and we love our customers, and we'll continue to do that. But a lot like Amazon, you can go to Amazon, you can buy a book or pretty much anything these days. But as well, you can use AWS, which is kind of their services arm, to build something on top of the Amazon backend. That's how we work. Basically, we have our customer-facing side and our consumer side, and then we have the side that loan officers and others can leverage.
So let me just dive into a couple things here that I'm still now just kind of wrapping my head around. So if you're a consumer, why do you love LoanSnap more than other options, more than other mortgage lending companies? What is it about LoanSnap that is different?
So the first thing that's different about LoanSnap is our focus is helping you save money. That's our number one goal, and we want you to be a customer for life. And to do that, we want to give you value up front. And that value is, rather than going through tons of forms and filling out text fields and all that stuff like you do other places, we take your name, your address, and for security to confirm who you are, the last four of your social. And then we actually in real time build a financial model for you from data we pull from 31 different APIs. So we get your permission to pull data from all these different sources versus you having to type it in. That gives us a huge advantage because now the customer can see how much money they're losing up front and make the right decision. The second part of that is that the system sorts through not 10 loan options, not 20, but thousands of loan options in real time. And that's a real advantage for the consumer because now you're able to access thousands and thousands of loan options and have a system optimize the best ones to save you money over the long run. And then we show those results to the customer and allow them to make the choice. Well, here, how much do you want to save per month? What credit cards do you want to pay off? What loans do you want to pay off? And so the two advantages there on the upfront are really this idea that we can show you where you're losing money, and two, we can help you solve that problem. And I'll add a third one. I know you only said two, but the third one is really closing the loan fast. And that sounds simple and easy until you actually try to do it. And as we all know, the mortgage industry is kind of like you know, basically known for going slow. And, when you're a customer on the other end and you need that money to start your business or to pay off debt or for, some kind of medical emergency, you don't want the money in 60 days. You want it as soon as you can get it. And that's one of the things that we provide.
So that's a lot of benefits, knowing that you're getting the best loan option for you because you're comparing against so many different loan options. And then speed also, right? You're getting that money quickly. And like you said, you're driving customers to be customers for life. So let me ask another question. What's in it for the loan officer to work with the loan snap versus any other option that's out there?
Well, the really big advantage for a loan officer, and this is something we started to see inside our own company, which was really revealing, was that the system is very good at doing a lot of the grunt work that normally a loan officer would have to do. Pulling pricing, looking at the property, figuring out the value of the property, looking at credit scores, figuring out what debts to pay off. That all used to be something that a loan officer would have to do manually. Our system does that automatically. And that means two things. One, for a loan officer who's experienced, it enables them to focus on the problem that the customer has. The machine handles all the grudgy work of going through lots of loan options, figuring out the trade-offs and everything like that for the loan officer, and presents them with the best options for that customer. The second thing that advantage for a loan officer is really that they can do it from anywhere. It's a cloud-based system, so they could be, at home on a Saturday afternoon. They can be on vacation. They can be late at night. That allows you to serve your customers at any time you want and work as much or as little as you want. So you can basically be your own boss. And between the two of those, there's no other system like that in the world. That really is unique. And of course, the last is that system is based on our back end system. So you get the same advantage of closing fast, and the customers get, text messages when documents maybe haven't been uploaded yet, or when things change with their loan, versus other systems where they're constantly having to play phone tag or wait for the system to come back to them or the person to come back to them in order to get a loan done.
So huge efficiencies for the loan officer, which gives them time back in their lives, which is probably the big.
Yeah, I mean, we see most of the people on our platform today, we see that they're doing 2 to 3 times the amount of loans per month than they were before they started with the platform.
Ooh, wow. Well, there's your selling benefit right there for any loan officer that would be listening, for sure. I mean, that's part of the benefits of using Sales Boomerang and Mortgage Coaches, that we add, 1 or 2 loans per month for the average loan officer. So that is a hell of a good draw for any loan officer that's listening. So let's talk about keep going through the ecosystem. We've got vendors and other mortgage companies. Now, what's your approach to partnering with a tech company versus build versus buy, essentially, is what I'm getting at.
You bet. So on the tech company side, what we think about is what's the best package in order to provide to the customers that are out there. And in this case, loan officers and other mortgage companies, it really is that web interface we call loan flow. And loan flow is kind of the core of that. Whether the loan officer works for another mortgage company and or is independent really doesn't matter to the system. It just knows that it's getting loans that are originated properly, because the system actually won't originate a loan that it doesn't have a buyer for, and won't originate a bad loan. And that's a big thing. Compliance and regulatory is a big part of the process. And our system runs compliance and regulatory checks in real time all the time. So it's not something that happens at the end of the process where there's a surprise. It's actually an ongoing part of it. In partnering with other mortgage companies, I think a lot of people have recognized that most mortgage companies are really good at the sales and marketing side and not so great at the back end underwriting and processing side. And they shouldn't have to be, right? That's really hard stuff that if you put in one centralized place, allows you to gain a lot of efficiencies like we have. And so we're basically lending out that engine to anybody who wants to use it. Mortgage company or loan officer, doesn't matter to us. And, they get a big advantage. They get the selling advantage. They get the speed, as we talked about, the 2 to 3 times more loans per month. And they get a purchase partner that, unlike a lot of the people who will buy your loans from you or buy the initial part of the package, the submission from you, in this situation, and then, 60 days later, you have a loan maybe. right? Whereas our system is 15 days or less, and it's a streamlined modern technology process. So big advantage for a mortgage company who switches to our platform.
Wow. Well, so let me just. I think this is kind of where I think a good closing actually would be. What are your goals? Like, what does this look like in 3 to 5 years? It feels to me like when I talk to you, this isn't like a normal mortgage company talking about growing units and volume, whereas it feels more like a tech company trying to change an industry. So I'm curious to know, like, how, when you're setting 3 and 5 year goals, are they like, hey, we want to be doing this many units in 3 and 5 years, or are you like, we're going to change the industry in 3 and 5 years?
Well, I would look at it even a little bit differently. So we don't think about units, we don't think about volume, we think about profitability on a per unit basis, which we can because we've got the tech stack to do that. And I think that's an important piece of the puzzle that has been ignored. And as we can see in the industry, it's a big problem. People focus on volume, and everybody talks about volume like they were last year. And then when the tough times come, they realize they're not making money on a per loan basis. I think the other part of it is there's lots of different things you can focus on as a mortgage company. Our goal is to save our customers money. So I would say 3 to 4 years out, I want to be saving our customers billions of dollars. And that's really the goal. Really, the goal is if we can save our customers money, they're going to be happy with us, and they're going to come back to us or our independent loan officers who are using our platform, because they know the number one goal of the company isn't volume or units or even in some cases revenue. It's really focused on how can we help our customers and gain that trust so that over time we can work with them on other types of loans and certainly their next mortgage.
That's awesome. So let me ask you in closing. Let's say there's a loan officer listening. You've got a broker who might be interested in learning more about this. What do you want them to do? Do you have any action you want them to take? Any message?
You bet. Go to goloansnap.com, GOLOANSNAP.com, and sign up. We've got people that are happy to help onboard loan officers, particularly if you're licensed and either in single states or multiple states. And if you're thinking about becoming a loan officer, we're building a training program that takes you all the way from the training courses to learn how to be a mortgage loan officer and get your license, and then the training on loan flow, which makes you the most efficient loan officer you could possibly be.
You guys heard it. Karl, thanks so much for joining on the podcast. I think you're doing something really unique and incredible over at LoanSnap. And it's just interesting to hear something so different from the tradition in mortgage lending companies. So thanks so much for joining me and sharing that, your insight. I appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you so much. It's nice to meet you.
Thanks for listening. If you like the podcast, please give us a 5-star rating, subscribe, and tell all your friends about the show. We at Sales Boomerang started this podcast to elevate the mortgage lending industry by sharing the kind of exclusive, insider knowledge from the successes and failures of the best of the best. The foundation of every successful lender is borrower retention. Sales Boomerang is the #1 fully automated borrower retention system in the industry. 1 in 2 of the biggest lending companies in the United States use Sales Boomerang to make sure they reach out to their borrowers when they need a loan, and more importantly, before their competitors do. If you want to learn more about Sales Boomerang, check us out at salesboomerang.com.